What we're doing today is a panel about the Transformers the Trading Card Game. It's a fun game. We're going to tell you a bunch about it. My name's Chris, by the way.
I'm Anthony.
And I just want to say we have a slide presentation for you. We're going to go a little bit quick because we have a short slot here. And all of this slideshow was basically done by Anthony, just to give credit where credit's due. So I guess we're going to get rolling on this, and if you have any questions, possibly time at the end. If not, we're playing the game all weekend, and we love answering questions.
Indeed.
Especially about the game. I don't know about you. I like answering questions about anything, but...
No, I like answering questions about the game.
Yeah.
Just don't ask me about anything I don't know.
I'll tell you all about neurotoxin.
We'll get to that card later, maybe. Quick overview first of what exactly it is we're going to be talking about. First off, we just did introductions, but we're going to do them again because formalities. Discuss what happened during the Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast era of the game, how it transitioned into the community-led era, talk about what we've done, what's happened, or what is going to happen. English is hard, folks. And then talk about where you can find us after that. First off, again, my name is Anthony, aka Hawkhammer. I am one of the lead devs for the game nowadays. I'm also the primary content creator on my YouTube channel, Servants of the Dice Gods. You can find a lot of gameplay there. And I'm also a bit of a weirdo, so deal with it. And then you all know Chris here.
I'm absolutely normal and a repair advocate.
If you want to know what that means, talk to me later. I can tell you about all his shenanigans. First order of business, for the few of you that are in the room right now, how many of you knew that this game existed before we started this? Okay, about half of you. That's a good number. You guys are awesome. But for those of you who aren't familiar with it, don't feel too bad. The marketing for this game was, it looked a little something like this.
It was really intense, actually. It's one of my favorite parts.
Bask in the nothingness, folks. But despite the fact that Wizards just refused to market this game for reasons that are beyond our comprehension, oh, let's be real, they didn't market it because they had other things to do in Magic. But despite the lack of marketing, there was a pretty decent amount of stuff released during the game's official lifespan. 5 full sets, 5 pre-constructed decks, 2 convention-exclusive packs, and a couple other miscellaneous promos that were scattered here and there. And there was a lot you could do in the game. For its size compared to other things like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, there was a good amount of stuff you could do, a lot of differing strategies, and a lot of stuff was like actually competitively viable on that side of the game.
Yeah, it's the reason why a bunch of us actually care a lot about the game is it also was a very good game. Like, sort of by surprise when it came out.
Exactly.
Like, hey.
I mean, who would have thought just Rock'em Sock'em robots in a card game form with Transformers slapped on it would be a good concept, but it was a fairly well-balanced game. Or at least it was. We'll talk about that later.
Slides.
July 2020, we got this message confirming that the game had been canceled, and that was a gut punch for all of us for 2 reasons. One, like we just said, the game was awesome. There was a lot you could do. But second, the final release of the game, which was Wave 5 Titan Masters Attack, left the game in a pretty unbalanced state, and as a result, it was a game where you could only play like 1 or 2 decks, and that is never a good thing for anything.
Yeah, people I have talked to who didn't keep up with community stuff, who say you're still playing the game, they ask, oh, are you guys running Sky Shadow or are you running the Decepticon Headmasters? Because that, for people who kept playing, that became the game after Wave 5.
And we'll talk about how we dealt with that in a minute. But
neurotoxin.
I mean, kind of, actually.
Yeah.
Well, at least at first. We'll deal with that later. But now we are in the current community era of the game, and when people hear that this is a community-led effort, there's a few questions that they have just talking about...
There's no way those community cards could be good as Hasbro/Wizards. There's no way at all.
Are we really going to do this again?
I just figured.
I debunked this last year. Are we doing this again?
I figured, it's been a year, maybe things got broken.
There is actually a way they could be as good as Wizards.
Damn! I thought I had you this.
So, when the game got canceled, there was admittedly a mad rush of people trying to basically be the game's savior. As a result, there were a lot of ideas being thrown out that were half-baked and not necessarily in the best interests of trying to actually fix where the game was at. So that caused a lot of confusion early on and led to some people being a bit reticent about the whole idea, but since then everything has cooled down. There is one main creator group now that is focusing on making sure everything is balanced, and thankfully we have solved this problem of making sure that community releases are, actually good on 2 fronts. First off is the testing process. Our sets take about 8 to 9 months to test at minimum, so that ensures that everything is worked out to the best of our extent. There occasionally have been a couple of things that have slipped through the cracks, but those have been quickly fixed due to the fact that we are actually capable of distributing changes to cards rather than WotC's stance of we're too big, the game's too widespread, we can't do it. We can do that a little more easily.
It's the advantage of digital, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's mainly a digital thing now, though physical cards do exist. And then the presentational aspect, as you can see with Rekgar here, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out how we can make our cards look exactly like Wizards did. And it's to the point where if you showed Rekgar here and a Wizards card to somebody and asked which one is the fan-made card, they probably could not tell the difference if they did not know what to look for. So that's fun.
But what's to keep a community creator from making a broken card?
Really? Here's a counterpoint question for you.
Broken?
What kept Hasbro from making broken cards?
Well,
no, go ahead, answer me.
They make Magic the Gathering the most balanced game in the world.
Yeah, there were broken cards there. There were broken cards here, too.
I was being facetious, by the way.
Jokes, how do they work? But the 3 cards you see on screen were actually banned by Wizards themselves. The 2 on the left and the right were banned because they enabled combos that just locked your opponent out of the game, essentially, and Press the Advantage there was banned because it effectively deleted Decepticons from the game. And deleting one of the 2 core factions of the franchise from the game, probably not the best idea.
You literally couldn't play competitive Decepticons when Press the Advantage existed. It just meant Autobots wiped you off the board. We tried in Toronto specifically to play around it. It was impossible.
And those weren't the only examples. There were also all of these that got banned by the community for one reason or another for various reasons. I just said that twice. There was also these guys. This is what I was alluding to with the neurotoxin thing. We initially cut out the heads, and then we realized the bodies were also a problem.
We can tell you at length if you come talk to us while we're playing, but what you see right now is part of what made Wave 5 an incredibly unpleasant experience for people who did try to keep playing post-cancellation without community card stuff. They were unpleasant to play against.
Indeed. And then there were also these 2 gremlins. You ask any TFTCG player about these 2, expect a 15-minute rant about why they're responsible for everything wrong in the world, especially Quake.
We know a guy in New Zealand who personally filmed burning a Quake.
I still have that video if you want to see it. Shout out Naga. Anyways, point is, things aren't always going to be perfect. There are going to be cards that are a little too powerful sometimes, and especially with Wave 5, there was a lot of issues floating around, like we just said. I think the number of cards that's currently from Wave 5 on the ban list is 10 at the moment.
Yeah, both banned, and I think it comes up here later. Also, we didn't just ban, but there are a lot of cases attempted to replace with something a bit more balanced, so it's not just we're erasing cards.
Right, and even then, banning was not our first solution. We did try to create counterplay with other cards to these Wave 5 powerhouses, but it eventually became clear that we just had to ban them outright. They were just causing too many diversity issues in the wrong direction, and the game was just becoming way too samey. And on top of that, our testing process ensures that cards do not reach that threshold again, and there's actually a design philosophy that I personally preach that kind of sums up what we're trying to accomplish, and it is designed to be functional, not to be good. Basically, a card needs to have a purpose, but you should not be trying to make it so that way it will just completely ruin the game or be the most powerful thing you can do.
Yeah, don't design competitively is kind of something we learned. But the game's dead. Hasbro will never make new cards again, so why bother playing it? I mean, it's...
Well, A, the game is fun, and B, a game's only dead when players no longer actually play it. And things have actually gotten to a point in terms of community growth where we're getting consistent growth on all of our platforms. Previously, it was very sporadic. We'd get one every couple months. Now we're getting a couple in every week, which for what we're trying to accomplish is huge. And additionally, we have managed to push the fact that not only in-person play is a valid option, but playing on webcam over Discord, TTS, Tabletop Simulator, playing on Octagon. There are so many different methods that you can actually play with right now that there's really something for everybody, no matter what you're able to do in terms of printing out proxies, what your hardware is for your computer. There's plenty of options out there. Additionally, being here at TFcon always causes a major spike in interest of the game because people are getting exposed to it for the first time because, again, the marketing was garbage. And on top of that, the gameplay is in a really good state. With the Wave 5 bans, with the extremely heavy testing, we've gotten the game to a point where there's so many different things you can do, even more compared to before cancellation. There's no clear best deck, and we actually have a couple of players in our current tournament right now who have entered for the first time and are doing really well with decks that were basically an afterthought to the rest of us.
Yeah, we have kind of noticed that in the case of Transformers TCG now, we have power creep outwards rather than upwards, which has always been the hope. So basically creating more valid deck types as opposed to enhancing other deck types to come upwards. Just build more outwards, more outwards. As you do, you create tools for other deck types that might be lingering. They start to just creep up themselves. And it's a very healthy state right now. And also to your point, like, there's so many different ways to play. When it comes to proxies, don't look at the edges, but like, do you know that some of these are proxies and some of these are WotC cards and some of these are somewhere in between? Can you even tell?
If you said yes, we'll talk later.
Yeah.
But now, you talked about all your fancy points, now it's my turn to bring one up. Stewardship of this game has been in the community's hands longer than it was in Hasbro's. They had it for 18 months, we've had it for almost 3 years as of next week. And with that, let's talk about what we have actually managed to do. So the first thing that came out was Wave 6 World Strike, and this brought the Quintessons. During the official run, there were 3 factions: Autobots, Decepticons, Mercenaries. Quintessons were surprisingly absent, so this set was fairly quick to fill that void in. Additionally, it also finally gave some support for specific types of characters, specifically melee characters. WotC sought out to establish an identity for each different character type. Melee they never got to, so we decided to give them the identity of they take damage, they gain powerful effects, and again, that has opened up new play routes in terms of what you're able to do in the game. And finally, I mentioned there was attempts to restrain Wave 5's power rather than outright ban it. This is where that started. There's a lot of cards in here that either directly counter mechanics from Wave 5 or counter other shenanigans from Wave 5. But the nice thing is, because of our testing process, we had standardized it by the point we developed this. All of those counter cards are not just completely broken without the Wave 5 stuff there. They are balanced options that can go into some decks and can't go into others for one reason or another.
So some of them have actually, if I recall correctly, tapered off a little bit as people have been moving away from Wave 5 stuff.
Exactly.
I should say also, as you can see, Wave 6 also introduced the word Anglemaw to a wider audience of Transformers fans.
And many weird pronunciations of that, including Among Us at one point.
We got the Among Us surge.
That's sus.
Yo! You used the word already, I can't use it again.
I have a 6-year-old, that's all I know.
Okay.
If they say sussy, then you need to do something about it.
You don't even know how many times it's uttered.
Sussy is not a good word, don't let them say... Okay, anyway.
Yeah, we're not going to name a card that, don't worry. After that was Wave 7, Monster Menagerie. This was originally 2 releases, but we've combined them into one just to avoid confusion for new players. And kind of the 2 points of this is that the characters, a lot of them feature interacting with the top of the deck and getting rid of cards for that, something we really hadn't seen before outside of like 2 examples. And the battle cards and the stratagems, the other 2 card types, a lot of them were designed to support older characters that either didn't have a chance or kind of fell off. And again, they were designed in a functional manner, not to just make them the best deck in the format, even though one of them ended up being one of the best decks in the format, but that was completely unintentional. But the 2 examples I'll point to, Ultra Magnus and Devastator, they were jokes before this set, now they are some of the best things you can do in the game.
Yeah, Devastator was literally one of the hardest decks to play to a mediocre level of competitive power, and now, as you mentioned, Devastator is one of the scariest decks to play against, to the point where we thought maybe it was overcorrected, but then, long story short, it wasn't. Devastator, however, is really good now.
Well, we'll see about that, because I've developed some new theories on that.
Yo, I told you there'd be exclusive reveals. New theories! Okay, anyway.
Anyways, and then after this we had the big one, Wave 8 Wastelands. This is the largest set in the game's history, and I'm not just talking like community, I'm talking at all. I think it trumped Wave 5. I think Wave 5 was the previous largest. Anyways, this one introduced a lot of stuff, 4 big things. First off, Junkions. You got Rekgar, you got Rummage, you got Ashtray, you got pretty much all the Junkion names you could possibly imagine in this set, as you can see Chris holding up right here. Going in with side by side with them is the new station mechanic, which is basically seats and like hard points that you can take on characters in order to gain extra stats, various effects, all sorts of weird nonsense. There's also rolling actions. This is a new type of action that you play it down, you don't get the effect immediately, but then you can use it later to build up something extremely powerful. That mechanic specifically I think is the most well-received mechanic we've actually developed. A lot of people really like that, partially because of its simplicity, but partially because it just does a lot of things in terms of decision points. And then finally there's a new keyword, press, which sort of inhibits a lot of the like flipping a ton of cards off the top of the deck to attack shenanigans that were floating around as of wave 5, but it A, doesn't completely destroy them, so it doesn't result in a situation where it's just the most broken thing in the game, and B, there are already cards that exist that you can use to play around it, so there's some inherent counterplay, and you got to think, okay, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with it when it's not showing up?
Just as an example, if anyone played the game early on, if you played against, say, the Insecticons, and you were used to them flipping like half the deck when they attacked you, a press is a soft way to kind of combat that without having like, oh, we just erase your bold effect.
Right, and it might only save you 1 or 2 health, but we have learned the hard way that matters a lot.
And just to again, like, well, you can see these in person over the weekend. The station mechanic, one thing it does is you can have Junkions, right, who turn into a motorcycle, they attack, and then another Junkion can hop onto the seat and ride this one in to attack afterwards. So you can do the classic Junkion thing of everyone rides everybody.
And it's a lot of fun. And that's what we have managed to do so far. Again, that's only a set a year, but given we're a team of about 15 people, we're doing the best we can, and we are looking to ramp up the set production here in the near future without compromising quality because we have our testing process sorted out. So let's talk about what's coming in the future, shall we? Yeah, always fun to talk about that. So the overarching picture is that Wave 9, Arc Exodus, is currently in testing. I think we're going to be done with that in the next couple of months or so.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, we just had to go through and adjust a couple of things, and there's still some debates raging on things. We'll get to that later, maybe. After that, there was enough content in the works for at least 4 sets after Wave 9, and there's going to be more stuff after that as well. We just haven't figured out what it's going to be yet. Planning things is important, folks. There's also going to be 2 new special releases. It's just stuff we couldn't necessarily easily slot into a wave because of one reason or another. That is going to be interesting. There's a couple of really cool things that are going to be showing up in that. And then finally, there's a new community website out there, transformers.cards, which is a one-stop shop for pretty much everything you could need for the game. Collection tracking, deck building, tournament registration, all of that.
Yeah.
Zero, who is the community head at the moment, has done a really good job with that, so shout out to him.
I can add something, by the way, because this sounds like it's pretty definite. Zero, who runs transformers.cards, is now aware of the idea of what if you could go to a deck list and push a button and it spits you out a PDF of all the cards in the deck that you could then print out, cut out, put into sleeves. Now you just have a deck ready to go. It already can output that for Tabletop Simulator and for Octagon. So transformers.cards, which is also a kick-ass URL,
damn right,
is the place to look for any info. There's stuff in there if you've never heard of the game, if you haven't played for years. There are buttons all over that literally yell at you, yes you, specifically.
And additionally, there's also going to be a new community YouTube channel that's going to be the hub for news and announcements and all that kind of stuff, and also gameplay tutorials. That's not quite up yet. The URL is up, but I've actually got to make some videos for that, so maybe I'll get that done next week. I don't know. Let's actually talk about what's going to be in some of these sets that are coming up. First off, I mentioned Arc Exodus Wave 9. This is a rebalanced re-release of the set that was released before Wave 6. So the story there is that this came out about 3 months before Wave 6, but it was designed in a bit of a vacuum, so there were several cards in there that basically bordered on Wave 5 levels of power, and that's just not going to fly, so we've gone back in, and we're currently rebalancing everything to ensure that nothing in this set absolutely breaks the game.
Yeah, but we are also having a lot of exciting things in here, like as you can see, Galvatron as a feature card. He is literally designed to be a character you build a deck around, so if you've ever been thinking, I want to run a Galvatron deck, now you will be able to once Wave 5 is done.
Yeah, and he's one of the characters that kind of filled the void that WotC left in terms of certain like fan favorites that just didn't get a card for some reason. We also got Rodimus and Bruticus in here, so that's going to be fun. And because of the delay in terms of getting this set out, there are going to be a couple of new things thrown in there. We haven't completely settled on what they are yet, but there is going to be new stuff, I can guarantee that. After that, we get into truly new stuff, is Wave 10, Hostile Airspace, and I'm particularly excited about this one because this is actually the set that I am leading. So the big thing with this is that it's introducing a lot of support for planes and helicopters. Planes really didn't get a whole lot from WotC themselves because, I don't know, and the stuff they did get was meh.
There are no Starscream decks right now because the Starscream
Okay,
characters...
that's a lie. There is one that's currently in an event right now that's putting up a pretty good fight.
I didn't know that!
Yeah, there's this King Starscream deck floating around.
Oh, okay, I gotta check
Took
on
Devi
that.
to the brink in round 2.
King Starscream?
King Starscream.
Okay, I don't want to derail us, but okay.
Anyways, but then helicopters basically got nothing aside from like one card. So we were building the set. We didn't intend for this to be it, but as we were throwing stuff in, we were like, oh, planes and helicopters are kind of the main theme. So we just rolled with it. We're also continuing a lot of the Wave 8 mechanics because Wave 9 took a break because, again, that was designed before Wave 8. Additionally, Legendary Void, one of the creators that is worked with us in the past, some of his cards from his Wave X set that released in that Mad Dash I mentioned earlier are going to be imported into this and gone through the same testing process and rebalanced if needed. It's going to be just like every other card in the set, but it's, again, stuff that has been out there technically for a little while. But they were good ideas that we want to bring into the game, and this isn't the last time that's going to happen. And then after that is Wave 11, CNA. The name is pending on this one just because we haven't decided on a true name for it yet. Sort of like what Wave 7 and Wave 9 did. Wave 11's kind of design philosophy was who did WotC not get to and who did they just completely screw over. So a lot of cards in the set are either fan favorites that didn't get introduced or basically they support characters who just did not exactly get good treatment from WotC. Additionally, there's a couple new keywords in there introduced based on how much damage is on characters. So that's going to introduce some unique counterplay and decision points, something we, again, love to do. And also boat support.
Boats!
Like helicopters, like melee characters. They never really got anything from WotC, so we're finally filling that void. Shout out Ozzy for doing that.
Yeah, we're finally doing something specifically for all of the pipeses out there. All the boat perverts are going to get serviced by Wave 11. So stay tuned. Get in there.
I do not condone that statement. But after that, it is just mystery, but news will come out on that eventually. So that's everything we have. So talking about what's going to be happening on the other side of the building. We're going to have decks available for everybody. If you don't have any cards with you, no worries. We got starter decks. We got like mid-range casual decks. We've got high-tier competitive decks. No matter what skill level you want to try, we will have a deck for you. We're going to have a Unicron Raid playthrough at some point during the weekend. That is an awesome mode that you should definitely watch. And this isn't confirmed yet, but I might play a tournament match either tomorrow or Sunday. So if you want to see some high-level gameplay and that's happening, be sure to swing by and you can watch.
We got a tournament going on the Discord literally right now. Mm-hmm. There was a 2-week gap. We almost had our match on this weekend, and that would have been sick. We can still do it. Just, for funsies.
Yeah, that'll probably be a video we record. So, yeah, that's going to be what's happening in the TCG room. And again, if you have any questions, you can come find us. We're happy to answer them. And if you're looking for more information after the show's over, all of these links take you to various resources, the Facebook group, the Discord server, Transformers.cards, again, the main community hub, and then the YouTube channel, which, again, I'm working on getting that settled or figured out.
And here at the show, our main TCG room is going to be open Saturday and Sunday. It's where the fancy registration is happening right now, but it's that little studio over right by the South Tower elevators. If you did the customs class, it's the same room.
No, it's actually a different one.
Is it different?
The customs room was Studio 3. We're in Studio 1.
Oh, even better. We don't have to deal with paint fumes. So come on by Studio 1. Tonight, we are probably going to be jamming some games in the lobby, too. So if you just want to see some gameplay, play somewhere, just ask us questions. We're happy to answer anything. Does anyone here, by the way, know Netrunner at all? Okay, we got two people making noises. Think about the current state of Netrunner and how that has become like its own community-driven thing. That is very much the kind of wavelength we are aiming for with the Transformers TCG. I'm the only one on the team, I think, who's like really like nose deep in Netrunner, but I bring it up constantly.
Right.
Especially when we're trying to make decisions, I'll go like, well, take a look at what... They used to be Project Nisei. They changed their name recently. But take a look at what they're doing. This actually aligns with some of our ideas. So, yeah, thanks for coming out to this panel. The next panel, I do want to throw a plug, because the next panel by our Dylan the Ninjatron, how long has this panel been in the works?
Oh, this is not that.
Oh, okay.
The one you're thinking about is Sunday.
Sunday? Yeah. You better go to his Sunday panel, or I will be disappointed in specifically you.
Sunday.
True. But I'm disappointed in myself all the time.
That makes two of us.
That's self-deprecating humor, and that needs to stop.
But why? It's fun.
I just want to throw again thanks and shouts out again to Anthony, who put this entire slideshow together with the directive of let's take maybe 20 minutes.
And we're only 5 minutes over, so we'll take it.
Hell yeah. Anyway, we're gonna start packing up. Next panel's gonna start setting up. We'll catch you around. Play some games with us.
Indeed, it's fun. Thank you.